The matchup between Japan and the All Blacks has just come to a close, and New Zealand getting themselves the victory, 64 points to 19. Now, the early stages of this contest, it seemed like it could have been a completely different result. Japan came out firing, scoring the first try of the contest, but then from there, New Zealand, they were able to work their way back into the game, leading at halftime, 43 points to 12. They didn't score a huge amount in the second half, although a couple late tries from the debutant Ruben Love helped the scoreline get to where it was. But for New Zealand, their first try scorers, Mark Talia, Tui Pelotu, Billy Proctor, Sam Cane, Sama Penifenau, Pasilio Tosi, Tamaiti Williams, Cam Roigard, who was back in his first game since getting injured, and then Ruben Love coming off the bench later on in the game, replacing Sevu Reece, who had a very mixed game. In fact, some would say probably more in the poor department than the good, but then Ruben Love scoring 2 tries off his wing. In terms of the try scored by Japan, we just saw the 3, the first of which was scored by Naika Bulla. It was a fantastic run straight up the middle of the field. New Zealand just not quite able to catch up with them. Second try of the match was scored by the big number 8 Marquesi, and then the third was scored by the debutant Helu to make his way off the bench, the tight head prop. But overall, a lot of running meters throughout this game, but something else we saw a lot of was handling errors for both of these teams. New Zealand, they will have to improve drastically before next week up against the English, because certain times in this game, things that Japan let them get away with, the English will not. We saw how close the 2 games were up against England in July. New Zealand need to really get those little fundamentals right, but saying that, could be a completely different All Black side that we see take to the field. So the big question from this game, of course, is who are the players who played in this match that have earned their spot to play next week up against the English as well. Now, in terms of that front row, I think we saw some really good stuff from Pasilio Tosi, but they will opt for Lomax to start up against the English. Tui Pelotu in that number 5 jersey. That's a big question mark at the moment. Will they go with him or will they go with Tupavai? Both men in great form. Tui Pelotu, for me, was the man of the match, getting himself the try, doing well at line-out time, and also winning a few crucial turnovers in the breakdown for the ABs. Their loose forward trio, Wallace, Satiti, I feel has to be somewhere up against England. But Sama Penifenau also having a relatively solid game out there on the field. And Sam Cane, credit where credit is due, he stepped up throughout that first half, getting himself a try as well. Cam Roigard, it was his first game back from injury, like I mentioned, and he did quite well. I can see them going with him and Ratama throughout the next few matches. The backline, Billy Proctor was strong at 13, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Razor will select him. Talia was good, and then I feel like Perafeta was just a little bit rusty, but hopefully he gets better, seeing as he too has just come back from the injury. For Japan, there were a few players who really stepped up. I thought that Warner Dearns had a phenomenal game and was extremely unlucky to not get that try off the knock-on that we saw from Makesi. Nakabula, he had moments on attack where he was solid, but then defensively, that was the wing that the All Blacks decided that they wanted to target. There were probably 3 or 4 tries scored out on that wing, and there could have been even more if Talia had found himself situated out there rather than chasing the breakdown like he was throughout the first half. But overall, I feel like for this Japanese side, there are good things that they can take away from this game, but also, you know, there was rust and there were a lot of errors that they will want to cut down on. But one thing that they can really praise themselves with was the strength of their scrum. New Zealand had about a 65, if not a little bit higher, kg weight advantage over the Japanese, yet they couldn't push that Japanese scrum backwards. And that is a massive credit to how Japan's forwards are developing. Really good on the front row. Takeuchi alongside Okabe and also Sakate out there in the starting side. One of the talking points, of course, will be lineouts as well, with New Zealand selection heading forward, who are going to be the men that they target. Of course, Ardie Savia will be back for the ABs. Will they have Finau in there for that height? Satiti, can he play 7? Will we see a bit more of a reshuffle? There are so many questions around Scott Robertson's side, but the good news is those questions will be answered in the very near future. But do let me know what you thought of this game. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you feel New Zealand can work on heading into their next game? And also, what do you feel that they did extremely well in this contest, because there were a few things that New Zealand will be extremely happy with from this contest. The work of their forwards, getting in there, being physical up against Japan, something that England will be looking forward to for the next challenge. But thank you all very much for tuning in. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you all for the next one.